During the summer of 2009, the North Jersey Resource, Conservation and Development Council, a program of the Natural Resources Conservation Service, began work on its Walnut Brook Stream Bank Stabilization Project. Breaking ground on this project was the culmination of close to 5 years of preparation, fundraising, and planning. North Jersey RC&D, along with its 12 partner organizations, obtained funding from the New Jersey Wetlands Mitigation Council and the New Jersey Department of Environmental Protection to carry out the project.
When we finally obtained funding and got the design process going, some of the steps that we had done to get to that point was come out, work with some engineers, working with Princeton Hydro and the Natural Resources Conservation Service, NRCS. We have an engineer. They came out and surveyed this brook from this upper meander all the way through the straight part and to the end of the second meander. And we came up with what is the best type of restoration or stabilization practices that we can apply here that will be successful as well as be permitted by the New Jersey DEP land use regulation.
The goal? To restore natural stream function and improve overall water quality in Walnut Brook as it flows into the Neshannock River.
There's 3 steps, 3 phases for the project. We're going to be doing the stream bank stabilization. We're going to be planting trees and shrubs, which is known as a riparian buffer, along the waterway. And we're also going to be creating up to 3 acres of wetland further out in the field to create ecological habitat and to hold some of the excess stormwater that does come through the watershed in this area.
Over time, Walnut Brook has, through natural processes or human intervention, flowed through the fields that currently surround it. Aerial photography from 1956, 1978, 1983, 1995, and 2002 show how the path of the brook has deviated from its original course.
Since we started this process about 3 years ago, the brook has changed significantly. Based on our best estimates when we were looking historically back as to what has occurred here, we went back to try to figure out the history of the brook and to get an idea of why it's eroding so quickly. And some of the issues are there is been an influx of development upstream of here, which when we get high flows and heavy rains, this brook, even though we're about 3.5 feet up here on the bank above the waterway, it will come out of bank. So that indicates to us that there's a lot of water falling on the landscape above here, and when it adds that much force and velocity, it has nowhere else to go but it jumps the bank. So when it does that, it also erodes away the soil and the sod. As we can see, there are sections that are undermined, and that is a safety hazard because this meander number 1 that we're in is actually in Mine Brook Park, which is owned by Raritan Township. Meander number 2 is on the Hunterdon County Land Trust owned Dvoor Farm property. So that is public property, but not so much a passive recreation as this park is.
Since it would not be possible to reroute the stream to its historic path, the team decided the best way to help the ecosystem of Walnut Brook was to stabilize the waterway along its current path.
We're going to be doing stabilization practices that will combine the use of rock material. So we will be using construction equipment to transport that rock and place that rock along the toe of the slope. At the toe of the slope is where the water meets the soil. So we will be taking these banks, grading them back to a more appropriate slope, and with the combination of rock and vegetation such as willow cuttings, sycamore cuttings, we'll be combining those 2 products and protecting the edge of the bank from further erosion and helping to redirect the brook closer to the center of the waterway. With vegetation, you get an extensive root system. That root system helps to hold back the soil, and it also will provide shade for the waterway, which in turn helps to cool the water, which is better for fish and wildlife habitat species and aquatic habitat. So by decreasing the soil erosion that is occurring, we will be in turn improving the quality the aquatic quality of the waterway. This waterway actually flows from here into the Neshannock River, which is a larger system. So if we can decrease some of that erosion that is occurring in the upper reaches before it gets to the larger systems, that larger system will be better off for all that. We've estimated that based on these two meanders and how much it's eroded over the last 5 years, that right now on average it's adding about 5,800 cubic yards of soil to the waterway. So that's a pretty significant amount of sediment pollution being added to the waterway.
In order to achieve the project's goals, a variety of resources were utilized, not the least of which were people.
So for the construction that's going to be taking place, we have paid contractors that are going to be using their yellow machines. But we're having the opportunity, we're having a hydraulic research engineer coming up from Mississippi. He's with the U.S. Army Corps engineer, and he is a stream guru. He travels the country guiding groups and organizations to do these types of projects and activities for the overall good of increasing and improving the waterway. So with him being up here for the week of construction, we have opened it up for community volunteers to come and get an understanding of what we're doing, and also folks that are from within this area. It will give them an opportunity to give something back to the community. So the types of volunteers that we're getting, some are coming all the way from California and Arizona. They're folks that have been following this gentleman, Dave Derrick, through different projects, and they try to apply the different techniques that he will be installing to their types of sites in their states and their parts of the country.
Well, my name's Dave Evans. I'm from Arkansas. I work for Arkansas Game and Fish Commission.
My name's Ellen Cronin. I'm from Somerville, New Jersey.
Hi, I'm Dave Williams. I'm a volunteer here at the Mine Brook Project.
I came out here because I spend time at this park, and I've also been watching Walnut Brook degrade, and I wanted to help out and make things a little bit better than they have been.
I came to learn some new techniques. Longitudinal pointed stone toe is one of the methods I haven't seen, and I came particularly to the project to meet Dave Derrick and see how he performs stream restoration.
Myself and one of my counterparts drove up here to help with this project. We heard about it from an email that Dave Derrick sends out. I get regular emails from him and have to attend training sessions every year, so I figured this would be a great hands-on learning experience. I've been doing this type of stuff for about 10 years down in Arkansas.
Down on Meander 2, we were putting in willows with the help of one of the machines who was pulling up the soil so that we could stick the willows in behind the pile of rocks so that we could get the willows down into the water and down into the capillary zone.
Well, what I did was helped wherever they needed help. There's a rock vein you can see in the background back here. I helped with the installation of that thing. That's a upstream pointing rock jetty that deflects the water away from the eroding stream bank.
It's been a great effort out here, a lot of volunteers. I've seen moving logs and stone in different ways than I've used them before, so I'm looking forward to coming back to projects and bringing this knowledge back with me.
So again, just sharing that knowledge of what we can do to try to help protect the waterway and the watershed is key to the volunteers being here.
Sharing knowledge about the waterway, the watershed, and the ways to help restore our river habitats was at the heart of the project. Dave Derrick shared his knowledge on site with the many project volunteers who helped with the restoration. And now he'll walk us through some of the stabilization techniques used during the restoration of Walnut Brook.
We're up in Flemington, New Jersey. We're in the middle of the project and things are working out really, really well. We put in a 12-hour day yesterday, so we got caught up maybe halfway. We're going to put in a 12-hour day today and we'll get caught up and get back on schedule. I'm standing right in front of a rock vein, okay? This is it's a river training structure. What it does is it moves the thowag, or the deepest part of the channel, away from the eroding bank, and it moves it out toward the center of the channel. So it'll be right in this area right here. The highest, fastest, highest velocity, deepest channel in the river will be right off the end. This structure is it's keyed back up into the bank about 20 foot. It's built out of large stone. Some of the stone is in compression, which means that this stone is resting on other stones. When the water comes in and pushes its stone, when it hits its stone, it'll drive it into the other stones and it'll drive it into the ground. So it's in compression. It's really hard for the stream to pick it up and carry it off anywhere. This is just a little bit of willow poles that we have soaking that we're going to use in the key and some other areas downstream. This rock vein is sloped at 10 to 1. It's a 10 to 1 slope, so that means that you come out 10 foot, you drop down 10 foot, come out 10 foot, drop down 10 foot, but we're on a smooth slope in here, so that's a 10% slope. Then it turns 90 degrees and it goes back up into the bank and it goes into the key. The key's got one job, that's to connect this river training structure to the rest of the world so that the river or the water doesn't get back behind it and flow on the wrong side of the project. This rock vein is angled 30 degrees out from the bank, and it's angled upstream, so water is flowing toward me. And it's going to act like a catcher's mitt. Okay, so if this arm's the bank, I'm going to come out 30 degrees. I'm going to slope 10 to 1 slope like this. I'm going to dig out here and put some big stones down at the end so that they don't move. And then this is going to be like a giant catcher's mitt. This water's going to come in. It's going to super elevate, which means that it's just going to kind of build up. It's going to slow down, and then it's going to roll over this arm, which is this rock vein. It hasn't done that yet. We haven't had a high enough flow where it's come up over the top of this, comes in, it'll roll over, it'll dig a big scour hole in this area right here. And then the foul wag will come down, go through the scour hole, so then the river goes down and it comes up. We'll have another one downstream. We'll have 2 more upstream. So we'll make the river go down and climb a hill, go down and climb a hill, go down and climb a hill, go down and climb a hill. So we'll make this river climb 4 hills as it goes around this bend. And that's how we're going to dissipate a lot of the energy. The vegetation we were just putting in yesterday, we've got a little bit of a false bank line here built out of the material that we scooped out of the stream. All of this vegetation is adventitious, which means that it doesn't have to have roots when we put it in. It'll grow roots. Nothing will grow out of the end, but it'll grow branches off the sides. And you can see that some of these things are starting to sprout out already, okay? So they're going to put these leaves out, they'll put roots out, and the roots will give it the nutrients and water to sustain life on this. We sloped this bank back a little bit, but basically what we did, we had an area in here yesterday that was just dirt, soil, and we took some of the turf from on up on the bank and we sloped it down there and we covered this thing up. So now we've got an instant lawn where that root mass in that sod will go down, get into that soil, and it'll lock that all in place. All right, we're in an area here. This is typically called a riffle, okay? Upstream of this would be a pool where you'd have a deeper, wider area. It goes down deep and then it starts to climb the hill. It starts to come out of the pool. That's called the glide, okay, or the tail end of the pool, either one. And then it breaks right in there, and that's a riffle coming all the way down through here where you can see this white water, you can see this water tumbling, tumbling, tumbling. And then you've got fast water going into the deeper water, and that's called a run. So the riffle is from there to here, and then you got the fast water jetting into that slower, deeper water. That's the riffle behind me, the run, and then the pool, and then the glide coming out of the pool. But this riffle is not a riffle, even though it looks like a riffle. This riffle was not here a year ago. This is called a head cut. So this is a riffle that moves headward, or moves toward the upstream end of the stream. And it goes through the system, and when it does, it lowers the bed of the stream, which is bad. Because typically when you lower the bed of the stream, then all of a sudden the banks are taller, the banks start to fall in, fail back on both sides, and the river becomes quite a bit wider, shallower, and the it can carry more water because it's gone down and then it's blown out wide, and it carries most of the water, and then the water doesn't flood up on the floodplain. And this river should, or this stream should be connected with its floodplain, and right now it's not. It's just getting down deep enough that on a big flood, it should flood this entire area. Even where we're standing, it should probably be this deep on me coming all the way through here. It should wet all these wetlands, interact with all the trees, see all the roughness slow down, and that's not what's happening. So what we've got to do, we've actually got 3 foot of head cut. There's 18 inches here, there's 18 inches down around the bend. So we're going to come in and we're going to construct an engineered rocked riffle. It's going to imitate this natural riffle. It'll be built out of stone. It'll go all the way across the bottom of the stream. It'll go up both sides of the stream and be keyed into both sides of the stream. It'll be about 24 foot wide, and it'll be on a 15-to-1 slope. So it'll slope down here on an even slope. Every 15 foot it goes out, it goes down 1 foot, smooth slope all the way down through here. Actually, it's going to go down to the neon pink mark on that tree. It's going to start upstream at the other tree, be about 35 foot long. But right down here, so you can see the tree upstream, the little tree that's leaning out over, that's a black locust. That's where it's going to start, and then they're panning down, coming down through the riffle, and it'll end down here. We've got 18 inches of riffle here. We've got our head cut. We've got 18 inches downstream of me. So right here at this downstream end, the top of that engineered rock riffle is going to be 18 inches below the water surface elevation that you see right now. So right in here, when we dig this down, the top of the stone riffle will be 18 inches deep underneath this water surface right here, because that head cut's going to come up here. It's going to lower that water surface, and then that riffle will work a little bit better. And that riffle's going to stop this head cut from migrating upstream. In this area right here, the stream's going to come around this curve, and it's going to come in a straight line, and this is a natural riffle right through here. And it's going to come down here, it's going to dig a deep pool, and it's going to slam right into that opposite bank, and we've got to put that protection in there. That's called a grand slam. 90-degree angle straight in there. So we can see that we've got a launchable stone, a self-adjusting, self-filtering stone. It's about probably a 300-pound maximum weight stone, well-graded, big, smaller, 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 smaller. We've got that down at the toe as protection. It's a little bit hard to see because they're brown, but we've got 2 sets of willows. We got 1 set of willows in the middle of that stone. We've got 1 set of willows up above. So we've got 2 layers of willows that'll grow out. It'll cover up that stone. You won't see it in just a couple years. At the upstream end, again, we have a key. This key is curved. So right at the upstream end, and it's at about a 30-degree angle to the stream. Looking over here toward the right-hand side a little bit, this is another key. This is a mid-project key, so it's kind of in the middle of our protection works. We've got Ron on the track hoe. This is a tracked backhoe. Pretty good size, probably a 50,000-pound machine, about a 25-foot reach, a 3-foot wide bucket. What he's going to do is he's going to pick up this stone, he's going to spin around, and he's going to put it back up into that key. So he's going to fill that key with that large stone within about 6 inches of top bank. Then he can go ahead and put the soil up on top of it. We'll be done. It has willows on both sides since it's in the middle of the project. Those willows are going to be perpendicular to our high flow that would come across that bank. And that'll act as a living dike. That'll be a double living dike where the river's going to have to come through there, fight its way through that picket fence of all those poles, and that's going to slow down. It'll drop out sediment, and instead of eroding that bank, we'll get deposition on that bank. We've got the crew up here, and you can see that we've got a whole bunch of containerized plants. We've got about 15 or 20 plants. So we're going to repopulate that hillside. We've got our low protection, it's stone. We've got our willows down low, which is where they're typically going to grow. And then as you get farther up on a bank where it gets drier, we're going to have an assortment of different species that prefer it to be dry, not so much the wet conditions down by the stream. We're in the second bend, we're in bend number 2, and we're doing a completely different bank stabilization method down here, a methodology. This is a continuous resistive method. By that I mean we're going to put enough big stuff up against this bank, in this case stone and logs, that when the river comes in here and hits it, it cannot pick up and carry this material downstream. This is a longitudinal peak stone toe protection that's in. We've got a large lock log about every 10 foot or so. Those are angled downstream so they won't catch any debris, but they're designed to kick the foul wagon, the deepest part of the channel, out into the river. The gray rock that you see, this is an adjustable stone. It's well graded. Well graded means that it's different sizes. It's big, smaller, 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 down to a gravel. And what will happen when the river comes in here and it starts to erode, starts to undercut this stone is designed to self-adjust or fall down into the scour hole and armor that scour hole so the scour doesn't go up underneath the stone and keep on going. So again, this is bank protection. These are a couple different types of willow. We have some dogwood in here, the red osier dogwood, which is the red stems. We've got a whole line of it. Lay it back, actually we dug back in a little bit, we laid it on top of the bank, and that is called live siltation. Live means that it's living. Siltation is when something slows water down and it drops the sediment out. So that's what we want these things to do. So they're kind of named after their function. We've got some rooted stock plants that are grown in containers that have roots, number one, and they've got good soil around them. So we're going to populate this. This whole area right in here is going to be a riparian corridor. We're going to connect that riparian corridor upstream with the riparian corridor that's downstream. Over toward the left, we've got a keyway. This is the upstream key. We dig a trench about 4 foot down, about 4 foot wide. We put the willows in, the dogwoods, the sycamores up against the bank that's away from the active stream. We put the stone in. This is not done yet. We'll come back in. We've got 2 piles up over there. We've got gravel cobble pile, and then we've got some soil, some topsoil. So we'll smash this stone down a little bit. We'll fill in the interstices, the voids in between the stone with the cobbles and the gravels. Then we'll put a little bit of soil up on top of it. We'll water that in, we'll pound that down. And we're actually going to take this vegetation right behind me that's out in the middle of the stream. We'll take that as chunks of sod. We'll pick that up with that 4 foot wide bucket. We'll carry that over there, swing that over there, and we will sod this as a lawn. So that when we get done with that, you'll barely be able to see that we've even been in there. That key's got one job. It's to protect the river training structure. In this case, is longitudinal peak stone toe protection, and tie it into the rest of the world so that the river cannot flow or get in behind it, which is called flanking. Okay? We do not want the river, we want the river to flow right over here. We want the thowag to be out in the middle. We don't want the river to flow back behind it because that would fail the entire project. If the river does move over, if this river decides to move over and erode over, it's got to take out a forest, number one, and then it'll come in here and it'll hit our stone. It'll hit it at an angle like this, where it just comes in and hits this angle of stone, and it just vectors, or just kind of kicks out, it just slides off. If we put the key back perpendicular, the river moves over, it would just see a wall, and it would fight that wall, and it would slam that wall until it moves some of that stone around, scoured underneath that stone, and then it would keep on going. So this way it just acts as a deflector. It'll come in, it'll hit this, it'll kick off, and it'll go this way. Okay, it's been a really good week. We've been out here for 4 days, so this is kind of a 4-day miracle. We're looking at probably 700 to 800 foot of lineal foot of bank protection, stabilization, and restoration, and we put in a whole bunch of different methods and techniques. It's been a really good week. We've been blessed with a little bit of good weather, so we were able to get everything accomplished and get everything done that we needed to do. Things are looking good. Things are starting to sprout out. We're getting a little bit of growth off of our willows right off the bat, and we're just wrapping it up. So a lot of different agencies and individuals working together, a lot of volunteers, everybody thinking about this thing, coming up with good ideas all week. We've had a whole bunch of influx of ideas and thought process on what we wanted to get accomplished, how we wanted this thing to function, how we wanted this project to work. And I'm really satisfied with the job that we've been able to accomplish out here. People will be able to come out and look at this thing and enjoy this for generations.
After months of hard work, Walnut Brook has been transformed by earth moving, wetland restoration, stream stabilization, and planting with native species. Walnut Brook is an example of how thoughtful conservation, positive partnerships, and teamwork can be used to enhance stream ecology and provide a safe, natural environment for visitors.